The following marketing information and discussion is provided for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as professional guidance or consultancy. You should find an agency for that. Comexis is a digital marketing agency, so feel free to hire us. But otherwise, just enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Buyer's Journey by Comexis, a discussion-based podcast on the ever-changing marketing landscape. I'm Matthew McGroarty, the social media content producer here at Comexis.
I am Len Ward, the managing partner at Comexis.
And I'm Josh Lyons, the digital marketing coordinator here at Comexis.
So it is Thursday, and on Thursday we talk about the retention phase of the buyer's journey. The retention phase of the buyer's journey is when you are trying to keep a current customer that you have. For example, if they have a subscription through your service or something like that, or a retainer, or you are trying to get customers who have, for example, either already purchased your service or your product, making sure that they are kept top of mind so that they return later when they need your service or products again. So in this case, we are talking about an article from Mark Searles on CNET about Apple reportedly investing $500 million into its game subscription service. So for those of you who don't know, in late March, Apple announced Apple Arcade, which is a subscription service that allows Apple users to play games across iPhone, iPad, Mac. Why can't I say iPad? iPad, Mac, and Apple TV devices. So at the time, Apple promised 100 exclusive games would be playable out of the gate, and that games wouldn't be available on other subscription services or even other mobile devices. But as you would expect, Apple would have to invest a decent amount of money into that, so they're reportedly investing $500 million. And sources informed the Financial Times that many of the games in the works have budgets in the millions. For those of you who don't know, that's not super surprising. Searles mentions that a lot of AAA video game budgets, think of the Call of Duties of the world and things like that, if anybody listening ever heard of that game franchise. They have budgets that can be $200 million, $300 million, et cetera, et cetera. But typically games, especially on mobile devices in particular, are typically less expensive because they're just less intensive, less work needed, smaller teams, stuff like that. And there's a bunch of different companies, I'll mention them in the blog post, I'm not going to read them all here, that are going to be making these things. And there's some competition for that. So for example, 2 months ago, Google Stadia came out, or was announced rather, which would allow you to actually stream PC games and console games that you would see through the internet, through, we assume, a subscription service of some kind. Microsoft also announced some interesting stuff there as well. So what do we think about this, guys?
Are there going to be ads on this game?
So that's a question that I don't have an answer to.
If
it's a subscription service, I would say that there might not be. However, we know from other subscription services like Hulu, you can still get a subscription service and still have ads. So I can't specify at the moment, but I would not be surprised either.
I just think Apple has, it's almost kind of like, whatever, you hear like the famous war stories where the soldiers wake up and they're completely surrounded after the cover of night. I just swear Apple's building a massive advertising structure and people don't realize what's going on, and you're going to wake up that they're become the largest player in the ad game. They have all the platforms in the world to drop ads on. It's at what point do they finally say, hey, we're going to hit the afterburners and here's a whole new stream of revenue that we're going to go after. And this would be it as well. Like, I mean, I would have to take a look at it, and I don't know how they would even advertise on something like this. But to me, again, and I'm completely guessing at this, but it just seems like a lot of the stuff that Apple's doing, the next thing that they're going to be getting into is the ad game. And at what point, do they look at all their products and say, we can advertise here, advertise there? Because think about it. As an agency owner, I would absolutely put 75% of my clients on Apple ad platforms right now if that was available. I mean, not even close. I wouldn't even bat an eye to it. So I don't know. That's just me. My first thought when I hear something like this, that to me, this just reeks of a place where ads are going to be, and I just don't know where it's going to be. So,
what do you think, Josh?
I mean, as a consumer, I'm hooked. I mean, I'm a big gamer myself, and just on top of, I think it's the idea of that it's because it's a subscription service that like you can only play their specific games on this service. I like those kind of things because it's more of like you feel like exclusive, and it's like, oh, like I'm a part of Apple, I get to play this game that you don't play. It's sort of like how I have an Xbox and I can't play some PS4 games because they're like specific to the PS4. So it's that cool. It's a cool way to, you know, it makes you feel special to the brand, which why I think they're going to do well on that. And from a marketing perspective, like Glenn said, I mean, Apple's such a big player in everything they do that when they finally have the ability to put ads up or even do like add-on purchases within these games, it will work perfect. So.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the subscription, and you would immediately say, well, subscription, they're not going to advertise. But everybody knows the day is coming when Netflix is going to start advertising. Everybody knows that, yeah, well, I got Spotify, so there's no ads coming through. Well, Spotify, as we all know, because we're trying it right now, is testing out their ad platform for the free Spotify ads. Well, what point does that succeed, which we all believe digital radio is the new great frontier? Do they say, well, scratch that whole subscription bullshit. We're just going to go ahead and start charging for ads. Yeah. You'll make a lot more money on ads than you will on this. So, you know, but again, Apple's historic model has been subscription-based revenue. This is how they make their money, you know, and maybe, you know, I just could never see someone like Steve Jobs' mentality and culture saying, hey, we're going to use this for an advertising platform. But the reality of the situation is that the shareholders speak volumes, and I think all of this is good. But again, my guess is that somewhere down the road, somehow advertising is going to work its way in, but just not right now.
See, I wouldn't be surprised, given that mobile in-app advertising, when we talk about giving customers incentives to watch ads, like a lot of mobile games in particular will be like, you know, you need, I don't know.
Watch this ad for 30 seconds.
Watch this ad for 30 seconds. You'll get, yeah.
Same thing. I agree. That's how the ads will run.
Whether or not that'll be in this at least to start, I don't know. Probably not. But I do think it is smart that they are going after the more mobile-focused gamers, mostly because there's a huge audience there to begin with, but also because it sort of stops other problems that like Google Stadia is going to have, which is some of the games Google Stadia wants to stream are massive games that if you don't have a perfect internet service, you're going to be like in trouble with. This, I'm assuming what's probably going to happen is you'll have the subscription, you'll be able to download it, and you'll have to sign in every time, and then it's on your phone, and then you can just go from there, right? But yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's possible that they'll run ads in the games, and given that they're going to be a part of the subscription service, I don't know why all those ads wouldn't necessarily go to Apple or the publisher or both.
So you just said, because I wanted to double check that, you just said, that's right, because we talked about this, Google Stadia, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So they stole that name.
Oh, really?
Off of a sneaker, really bad sneaker, back in the 80s called Stadia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you know why? Because I owned a pair of those Bobo-ass shoes when I was a kid. It was made by Kinney. I had them for like a week. I'm like, Mom, I'm not wearing these anymore. She went out and got me Nikes. But I'm like, wait a minute, Stadia. I'm like, wait a minute, Stadia.
People made fun of that.
Scarred me forever to wear those sneakers, but anyway.
People made fun of that name a lot because it sounds like a medication you would get.
Stadia.
Like some pharmaceutical.
It's to me, it's so 80s. Because I remember saying Stadia. I never like put two and two together. I'm like, wait a minute, they took that name off Stadia. I don't think Kinney Shoes is around anymore, so I guess the trademark fell off. But they didn't come up with that name. That name's stolen from the 80s.
They don't have, it's stolen and it's not a good name.
It's not a good name.
I wonder,
bad shoes too.
Did they talk about like exactly the types of games, or because like I know it shows the some of the.
I mean, they don't mention any of them. I mean, I would have to look at when the Apple Arcade announcement came out and read pieces on that to see what they announced.
Because it's interesting because I think of like when you go on the App Store and like let's use for example like when Angry Birds was big and like some app creators or like app developers would make like the knockoff version of that game. I wonder if like Apple, because it's like it's going to be their own games and their own whatever, they sort of could work with a brand with creating like a game about their brand, and like you can put dollars behind like, hey, like we want like a Coca-Cola version game through Apple Arcade, and then they build something where all the advertising is right in the game. You don't even need to run videos. It's just
you're thinking so, but Apple, and correct me if I'm wrong, has long been a platform for the distribution of whatever type of content may be out there.
Yeah.
They've never truly had a studio per se that's created anything. So I think this falls in line with It's another platform of
okay.
a growing industry. I don't know if Apple would get involved, unless, I could be wrong. Have they gotten involved with something like that before?
So I don't know, but the only reason I think it's a possibility is because I'm assuming they're hand-picking these games that will be a part of their subscription
They're going to
service.
handpick the games that they know people will sign up for and they will actually make money on.
Well, yeah, but the reason I bring it up is there's no reason for me to assume that, like, just say, for example, let's just go with Game of Thrones, because that was, even though there's already we're not going to touch about other Game of Thrones games that already exist on mobile. If they wanted to make a new one, they would probably want to approach HBO, and then together they would have to go approach a developer.
Right.
So no matter what happens, even if it's not Apple's own studio, they're still working with them because they want the exclusive, right? So I wouldn't put it off the table, but you are correct. It's not like they have an in-house studio for that. So they would have to...
But maybe this isn't an advertising play. Maybe this is, if you're going to enter the way of the content that's being delivered, and if they're right now, we all know that Apple's probably one of the leading platforms that deliver whatever type of content you're looking for. The best way and the true way to get in would be the gaming industry, because that is the fastest growing, where all the money is. Apple's arguably probably the most intelligent company out there. So maybe this is their way. Okay, maybe it's you look at it 2 ways or 3 ways. It's just another platform to deliver content. Number 2, this is yet another pillar that they're building for advertising, and they're going to get ready for it. But number 3, we're going to start developing our own content, and gaming is where we're going to start. I couldn't even imagine if Apple got involved in the gaming industry, what that would look like. That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
certainly will be. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to today's episode of The Buyer's Journey. Check us out on Comexis.com, YouTube, and anywhere you can get your podcasts. And please follow us on Twitter at @buyers_journey. Thanks for tuning in.